Okay, dear students, welcome back to Sri Ramanuja Vidya Mandir. So this is the 19th session on the topic of vectors. So hopefully this may be the last session, and one more session will be there on this topic of vectors, where I'll be just solving only the previous year's questions on vectors which came in IIT, mains or advanced or other competitive exams. So this is the last but one session, students. So in this session I'm going to give the synopsis of the entire chapter. That means whatever we have studied until now, what are the important concepts, what are the important formulas, and what are the important models of problems which we have studied until now. So I am going to summarize everything in this one video, students. So please pay attention for this video. If you have not understood any of the concepts in any of the videos, here hopefully you will understand. If you don't understand, please review the previous videos. Definitely they will be useful. But this particular session is the complete summarization of the entire chapter. So if you hear those all the videos, then only you will understand this one, students. So please pay attention for this particular video, where I am going to summarize the entire chapter. Okay, students. So let us begin the vectors. So in these vectors, so first we have started with the definition of what is meant by a scalar and what is meant by a vector. Okay, so the first video is about that one only. Okay, so scalar quantities, there I have not given the formal definitions. Okay, students, there I just explain how we can understand the quantities, or how can we differentiate between the the quantities, whether they are scalar or vector. Okay, students, so now here I am giving the formal definitions for the entire quantities. For whatever terms that I have told in the previous sessions, I am going to give the formal definitions. Okay, so first one, scalar quantities. So those physical quantities which have only magnitude and no direction are said to be called as scalar quantities. Okay, students, what are the examples? Okay, mass, time, speed, temperature, and potential. These are all I explained about mass, time, speed, and temperature. Okay, so they are not related with the direction. They are not associated with the direction. So therefore, they are classified under scalar quantities. And these quantities are completely known if their magnitudes are known, and they can be added according to ordinary rules of algebra. Like if you want to add speed or temperature, you can just directly add, like the normal rules of algebra. Whereas vector quantities are those quantities okay, which have to be specified, means both magnitude and direction, as well as it should follow triangle of vector addition. So three conditions, students: number 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay, so initially I told 1 and 2, and then in one of the videos followed I told 3. Then this 3 will form the complete definition of a vector quantity. Okay, just if you have 1 and 2, it is not a vector quantity. Okay, so those physical quantities which have got magnitude, direction, as well as if they obey triangle of vector addition, they are called as vectors. Okay, what are the examples, students? Displacement, velocity, acceleration, momentum, force, impulse, weight, thrust, and many more. Torque, angular momentum, angular velocity, which we are going to study in the further chapters. And these vectors cannot be added using ordinary rules of algebra. Okay, so they have separate method for adding, subtracting, and multiplying. So therefore that geometry is called as, that algebra is called as vector algebra. They have to be added geometrically. Okay, student, because of the direction involved. So this is the basic differentiation between the scalar quantity and vector quantity. Okay, so now let us see what are the different types of vectors. Okay, so first one is called a zero vector or a null vector. A vector whose magnitude is 0, okay, and pointing in any arbitrary direction is called a zero vector or null vector, and it is represented by 0 arrow. Okay, so any vector is always represented by a arrow, students. On the top there should be an arrow. If an arrow is not there, that means it is the magnitude of the vector. Okay, if arrow is there, then that is the representation of a vector. For example, what is the example for the zero vector? The position vector of the origin. The position vector of the origin of the coordinate axis is a zero vector. That means we know that this is called as coordinate axis, x-axis, y-axis, and this is called as origin. Now the position vector of origin means here itself. Okay, So therefore its value is 0. Okay students, so therefore this is called as 0 vector or null vector. And what is meant by unit vector, students? A vector having unit magnitude, whichever vector, if it has got a magnitude of 1, that is called as a unit vector. Any unit vector of any vector a bar is denoted by a cap. This is cap, students. This is a, this is cap. Okay. If you write a vector, this is called as vector. Okay. This is also vector, but this is specifically called as unit vector. Okay students, why? Because its magnitude is 1. So a cap, this is like a hat. Okay, this is arrow. Okay, so a cap or a caret. Okay, where a cap is equal to a vector divided by its magnitude is called as the unit vector, and a unit vector merely indicates the direction. That's all students, because its magnitude is anyway a only. So therefore if this is the unit, if this is a vector a, then its unit vector will be like this, in this direction, whose magnitude is 1. Okay, so now let's see next one. Unit vectors along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis are I cap, j cap and k cap, like this. This is along x-axis I cap, this is along y-axis j cap, and this is along z-axis k cap. And this set of vectors I cap, j cap, k cap is called as unit orthogonal triad, because they are always perpendicular to each other, students. Okay, so this is called as unit vectors. Okay, next one, equal vectors. Equal vectors means just the direction is not sufficient, means if the directions of two vectors are in the same, then they may be or may not be equal vectors. Okay students, they can be equal vectors provided if they have also equal magnitude. So therefore these two must be satisfied, same direction and same magnitude. They are represented by lines of equal lengths parallel to each other with their head in the same directions. Here you can see, students, this is suppose 5, this is also 5, this is also 5. So all are called as equal vectors because all are having the same magnitude and all are pointing towards the same direction. And then next one, negative of a vector. Suppose if it is another vector which has got same magnitude but opposite direction. Suppose here there is a vector which is given by a equal to 5, then its negative vector will be given by minus a cap. So only thing is here, the difference between that vector and this negative vector is its direction is opposite to that of original vector. Okay, so this negative vector is very important when we come to the subtraction of vectors. Okay, now position vector. A vector from the origin to the given point is in the Cartesian coordinate system is called as the position vector, students. Okay, suppose here there is one point A. So now if you join a line from point A to point O to point A, this is called as position vector, and the position vector symbol is R arrow. Okay students, this is called as symbol for the position vector, standard symbol, position vector. This is the symbol for the position vector. Okay students, so now for this point A, this is called as RA cap, and for this point B, this is called as RB cap. So whenever we want position vector for a particular point, just draw a line from the origin to that point A, that's all. Okay students, so here you can see this is the position vector of this one A. Suppose it is given as suppose let us say RA cap. Okay, and this is the position vector of B, which is given as suppose let us say RB cap. And now if a body is going, if a man is going from A to B like this, okay, then the displacement is, then this AB is called as displacement vector. This AB is called as displacement vector, students. Okay, and what is the formula also I gave you. Okay, in this session also I'll give the formula. AB is called as displacement vector, or BA also can be called as displacement vector. When you are going from A to B, that's called as AB. If you are going from B to A, that's called as BA. Okay, so this is about position vector and displacement vector. Okay, displacement vector is here. The vector connecting the initial and final positions of a particle is called as the displacement vector, where here suppose let us say for the first point this is given as suppose let us say R1 cap. Okay, and for the second vector it is given as R2 cap. This is R2 cap. Okay students, so now this is called as R2, this is called as R1, and if you are going from A to B like this, okay, so then the displacement is given by the displacement vector AB is given by position vector of final point minus position vector of initial point. This is a very important point. Position vector of final point, position vector of final point minus initial point, position vector of final point minus of position vector of initial point. Okay, students, always remember final minus initial. So position vector of initial point. Okay, students, so that is nothing but I'll write it here as R2 vector minus R1 vector. Okay, suppose if you are going from B to A, suppose if you are going from B to A, then it will be how much, students? Final position vector of final point, final position is A, so therefore R1 vector, because R1 vector is the position vector of A, so R1 vector minus R2 vector. Okay, students, so this is the displacement vector, and I explained in the in one of the video, explain how to understand position vector by taking the example of cricket ground. Okay, students, so there you can refer this. If you don't understand what is meant by displacement and all, please refer that video. Okay, next one, free vectors. Free vector is that vector whose initial point or tail is not fixed, also known as non-localized vector. That means if a vector is not fixed, that means we can always transport a vector from its position to another position, but always parallel to itself, students. Like for example, see here, vector shifting is allowed without change in their direction. Let us say two vectors A bar and B bar are represented as like this. This is one vector A bar, this is another vector B bar. Okay, students, this is having an angle of theta A, this is having an angle of theta B. Okay, students, now a vector shifting is allowed without changing its direction, as vector A shifted in the figure from position 1 to position 2. This is position 1, this is position 2. Okay, so see here, students, here I shifted from A to here. Okay, I shifted parallel like this. Okay, students, like if you want, I'll show you with this arrow like this. Suppose let us say if this is A vector. Okay, students, making an angle of, suppose let us say theta, this is, suppose let us say theta equal to 30 degrees. Now I can always shift this vector to anywhere, students. I can always shift this vector to anywhere. Okay, so like see here, I can shift this vector like this parallel to anywhere, so I can shift it here also. Okay, so therefore here again it will make an angle of how much, students? 30 degrees. So this is also called as A vector. Okay, so this is also called as A vector, students. I hope you understood. So this is called as the shifting of vector. Okay, students, so here vector shifting is allowed without changing their direction, as vector is shifted from position 1 to position 2. Here A bar and B bar should be equal to, if A bar and B bar, here this is A vector, this is B vector. If the magnitude of A bar is equal to magnitude of B bar and theta equal to theta A equal to theta B, then both vectors are considered as equal vectors. Right now these can be equal if theta A is equal to theta B, students, and the magnitudes of the vector A should be equal to magnitude of vector B. Okay, students, and suppose if only theta A equal to theta B, then both vectors are said to be parallel vectors. Okay, students, I hope you understood here equal vectors and parallel vectors. Okay, equal vectors and parallel vectors. Here we have discussed three things. One is shifting of vector. Another one is called as shifting of vector. A vector can be shifted to anywhere parallel to itself. This is the first point. Second point, equal vectors and parallel vectors. Equal vectors means the magnitude should be equal to, that means the magnitudes of both vectors must be equal and theta A must be equal to theta B. Parallel vectors means the magnitudes may not be same, but the angle should be same. The angle made by the x-axis should be same. Then they are called as parallel vectors. Magnitudes may not be same. Magnitudes may not be same, but still you can consider them as parallel vectors. Okay, students. So anyway, this is called as shifting of vector or transporting a vector to anywhere else. And these are some definitions which I have not told in my video sessions because they are not important, but just we'll see the definitions and then we'll go further. Concurrent vectors or co-initial vectors means those vectors which have got same initial point. Like for example, here you can see there are three vectors. One vector is A bar, another vector is b bar, another vector is c bar, another vector is d bar. But all are having the same initial point. So therefore they are called as concurrent vectors or co-initial vectors. Here also you can see there are three vectors, a bar, b bar and c bar, but their initial point is same. Okay, so therefore they are called as concurrent vectors. Next one is coterminous vectors, means vectors which have got a common terminal point. Okay students, vectors which have got a common terminal point. That means here you can see the end point of all the vectors is at the same point. This is the end point of all the vectors. So therefore this is called as coterminous vector. Next one is called as coplanar vectors. Vectors lying in the same plane. Coplanar. In the name itself it is there. Same plane. Same plane. Okay students. So if two vectors are in the same plane, then they are called as coplanar vectors. Like here there are many vectors, students. You can see one is, suppose let us say first one is called as f1 vector, another one is called as f2 vector, third vector is called as f3 vector, fourth vector is called as f4 vector. Now all are lying in the same plane. How do you know is, if you extend one vector, it will meet the other vector. Okay students, you can see here. If you extend any vector, it will meet the other vectors or their extensions. Then they are said to be in the plane, same plane. Okay. It is not true, means next one is called non-coplanar vectors. Vectors not lying in the same plane. So suppose for example, see here students, here there are some similar colors, like here blue color. You can see this is the blue color, this one is the blue color, this one is the blue color. Okay. Now these two are lying in the same plane. Okay students, so therefore their lines of extensions will meet. Okay. Whereas now this color, you can see students, this color, this is one color and this is also another color. These two colors are also, means these vector quantities are also lying in the same plane. Okay students. Whereas this vector is not lying in the same plane, and this vector is also not lying in the same plane. It is in different plane. Okay, so therefore these vectors are called as non-coplanar vectors. Vectors not lying in the same plane. And next one, collinear vectors. What is meant by collinear vectors? Collinear vectors are those which will be lying on the same line, and they act in the same direction or opposite direction. Okay students. So next one is collinear. We already studied same axis. They should lie on the same line. Suppose one vector is like this, another vector also should be like this, or it can be like this also. Okay, these are called as collinear vectors on the same line. Parallel vectors, two collinear vectors acting along the same direction. Those are called as parallel vectors. And anti-parallel vectors means which are in opposite direction. Okay students. So now until now we have studied the basic definitions, types of vectors and all. So now the actual topic of vectors is addition, subtraction and multiplication of vectors. Okay, so now let us see first one, how to add two vectors. There are two laws. Number one, triangle law, and number two, parallelogram law. So triangle law, what is the statement? If two vectors are represented in magnitude and direction by the two sides of a triangle taken in the same order, please remember students, taken in the same order, then the resultant is given both in magnitude and direction by the side of the triangle taken in the opposite order. Okay students. So for example, let us say we have two vectors. Suppose let us say we have two vectors a bar. Let us say this is called as a bar, and another vector is there. Suppose let us say we have, this is called as b bar. Okay students, let us say this is called as b bar. Now we want to add these two with the help of triangle law. Okay students, so what we have to do is, now if two vectors are represented in magnitude and direction by the two sides of a triangle taken in the same order. Same order means the tail of one vector should be connected to the head of the another vector. So what I have to do is just take the one vector, move the one vector in such a way that suppose let's say I move b vector like this, it will come like this and then it will be here. So by moving like this in such a way that if the tail of the second vector is connected to the head of the first vector, Now according to this triangle law, the resultant is given both in magnitude and direction by the side of the triangle taken in the opposite order. Normally, suppose let us say here normally this is the vector A, this is vector B, and now if you want to close the triangle like this, we'll close normally because this is the order like this A, B and C. But here according to triangle law, you should not draw like this. You should draw in opposite order. So therefore the resultant of these two vectors is this one, which is called as A bar, which is called as so this is called as C bar. Let us say this is called as, we call it as C bar, and this is called as B bar. So therefore this is called as resultant, which we can write as C bar is equal to A bar plus B bar. This is very, very important, students. Okay, so this triangle law, right now you may not feel the importance of this one, but when we go to kinematics, particularly the applications, okay, where we had to, there are many applications, okay, so there we will use this triangle law. Okay, students. So now if you want to understand more deeply, I gave here detailed one. You can see, suppose let us say we have two vectors, students. One vector is AB, another vector is CD, and if you want to add CD to AB, place tail of CD at the head of AB like this. Okay, tail of CD at the head of AB. Then the sum is the vector sum from the tail of AB to head of CD, that is called as AD. Okay, so this will be called as the resultant. So here you can write down AD. AD is equal to AB bar plus CD bar. Okay, students. So anyway, so this is the called as triangle law, and next one is called as very important one, that is called as parallelogram law of vector addition of two vectors. Okay, so what is the statement? If two non-zero vectors, before that I gave you one hint, means how to remember this one is always remember, students, here this is called as tail, this is called as head. Okay, so you should make sure that tail and head should coincide here. Okay, and here this is T, this is also T. So tail and tail here, and here head and head. Okay, students. So this is the what you call, if you want to add by triangular, please remember this one. Okay, tail tail, head head and head tail. Okay. Now if you want to find out the resultant by using parallelogram law, okay, so what is the method or what is the statement? If two non-zero vectors are represented by the two adjacent sides of a parallelogram, then the resultant is given by the diagonal of the parallelogram passing through the point of intersection of the two vectors. So whenever you want to add two vectors by using parallelogram law, you should make sure that the two vectors should form the sides of the parallelogram, Suppose let us say if this is A bar and another vector is there, suppose let us say this one, this is let us say B bar. So if you want to add these two vectors, you should join the tails of these two vectors and they should be two sides of a parallelogram. Then only we can apply parallelogram law. Okay, students. So that means here the condition is that this tail and this tail should coincide. Okay, students. If you want to add the same vectors by triangle law, then you should shift this B vector like this and then add here. If you want to add by triangular, this is the method. If you want to add by parallelogram law, this is the method. Actually, in one sense, both are same. Okay, students. In one sense, both are same. So therefore, if you want to go by parallelogram law, you should take these two vectors AB as the two sides of a triangle, and then now you can join the parallelogram like this. Okay, students, you can join the parallelogram like this. Okay, and now if you draw the diagonal of this parallelogram, that is called as the resultant of the two vectors C bar. Okay, students. So this resultant will make an angle of alpha, and the original angle between the two vectors is theta, students. This original angle is theta. If theta is the angle between the two vectors, and if you take and if you find the resultant, that resultant will make an angle of alpha with the A bar. Okay, students. So this is called as the triangular, how this resultant is the what you call, how it is obtained and all, and what is the formula for the magnitude of this resultant, I've derived in one of the video session. Please go through it. Here I'm just giving the what you call expressions. So what is the expression for the resultant of the magnitude of this resultant, students? What is this expression? So R is equal to root over a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta, and what is the angle made by this resultant with the a vector, students? Tan alpha is equal to b sin theta by a plus b cos theta. And the way to derive or to obtain these expressions is from the above diagram. We'll get it. Okay, students. So right now not required. Just but these formulas you should by heart, students. Okay. So this is the, so if any one of you are not understood, once again just I am explaining step by step that how to do problem by parallelogram law. Suppose if you have two vector, students, one is called a vector, another one is called as b vector. So first we should make sure that the tails of these two vectors are joined here. Then you should complete the parallelogram here like this. Okay, students. Then you should complete the parallelogram. And then now this side b bar is same as this side b bar, this side a bar is same as this side a bar, and this is called as the diagonal AC. So AC bar is equal to a bar plus b bar. Okay, students. So this is called as the theta, and this is called as alpha. So what is the, so AC bar is equal to a bar plus b bar, or we can also add a b bar plus a bar. Okay, students. Either you add b bar to a bar or a bar to b bar. Both are one and same. That's why this relation, that is called C vector, is equal to a bar plus b bar is equal to b bar plus a bar, which is nothing but commutative law. Okay, students. So now later on we'll see the other diagonal will be nothing but called as the subtraction of these two vectors. This diagonal C vector, this diagonal is sum of the two vectors a bar and b bar. The other diagonal is this one, students. This is nothing but the subtraction of these two vectors, which I'll explain again in the next topic, that is called subtraction of vectors. Okay, students. So this is the general method. So we have magnitude of R vector is equal to a bar, magnitude of a bar plus b bar, which is equal to root over a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta. Now special cases, if cos theta equal to 0, then what will be the magnitude of R, students? A plus b, which is called as maximum. And when theta equal to 180, the magnitude of R will be a minus b. This is called as minimum. So therefore, what is the range for the resultant, students? A plus b to a minus b. Of course, these values are also included. So therefore, and if the theta is 90 degrees between these two, then the resultant will be root over a square plus b square, because cos 90 is 0, students. And tan alpha, which is a very, very important relation, this tan alpha is nothing but b sin theta by a plus b cos theta. This is very, very, very important, students. Okay. So now let us see the angle if the angle between a and b is theta. Suppose let us say this is a. Suppose if this is a bar and if this is b bar. Okay, students. And if this angle is theta. If theta is 0, R is maximum. If theta is pi, R is minimum. How much? A minus b. If theta is pi by 2, a square plus b square, like this. Okay, students. Here angle is 90 degrees. Okay. Here in this case both are same, a bar and b bar. And in this case a bar is one side, b bar will be left side. In this case a bar is this side, b bar is this one. And now here one important result is there. If a bar equal to b bar equal to a, and the resultant will be, by using trigonometry you will get as R is equal to 2a times of cos of theta by 2. Okay, students. So this is derived by using some trigonometric relations. Right now it is not important, but just remember that if two vectors are equal, and if they are separated by an angle theta, then the resultant is given by R is equal to 2a cos theta by 2. Okay, students. And last one is very, very important, that when two vectors are when two equal vectors are inclined at some angle, and if the resultant is also the same value, then the two vectors must lie at an angle of 120 degrees, students. Please remember, this is a standard result. Okay, so this is called as this one, this resultant. Now right now resultant also will be equal to a. So that means if the two vectors are having same magnitude and if they are inclined at some angle, such that if the resultant should also be the same value of the vectors, then the angle between the two vectors must be 120 degrees or 2 pi by 3. This is one of the standard results, students. Okay. So this one right now, if you want, you can remember, students. This will be derived afterwards. Okay. So that means this is not required right now. If you want, you can remember, students, because basic formula anyway we have. And next one is called as polygon law of vector addition. When more than two vectors are there, how to add those vectors? Then they can be added by using polygon law. Okay, students, where actually it is nothing but like a triangle law. Means suppose, for example, I'll explain here, students. If a number of non-zero vectors are represented by the n-1 sides of a n-side polygon, then the resultant is given by the closing side of the n side of the polygon taken in the opposite order. Okay, students. Like for example, suppose let us say hexagon you take. Okay, students, hexagon. Suppose if you take hexagon and if you take the vectors in order, suppose this is one vector a bar like this. Okay, students, this is the a bar. This is a bar, and next another vector is there. Now just like triangle law, just place the tail of the second vector. Place the tail of second vector at the head of the first vector. That's all. Okay, so this is the second vector b bar. Next continuation, third vector is there. Now third vector, suppose let us say third vector is like this. Okay, students. Next fourth vector, suppose let's say you take fourth vector like this. Okay, students. Next let us say fifth vector like this. Okay, students. So now you have these vectors, students, a bar, b bar, c bar, and d bar and e bar. Now if you want the resultant is just nothing but the closing side of this triangle. That's all. Okay. So here you have to take the closing side of this triangle. That's all. This is called as the resultant of all the vectors, students. This is called as the resultant of the all these vectors. Okay. That is nothing but OE. Suppose let us say this is OE. So therefore OE vector is nothing but the resultant of all these vectors. OA vector plus AB vector plus BC vector plus CD vector plus DE vector. Okay. The resultant of all these vectors is nothing but this R vector, students. So therefore R vector is equal to A bar plus B bar plus C bar plus D bar plus E bar. Okay, students. Suppose sometimes they'll give the this R vector in opposite direction, students. Suppose let us say for example this R vector is given not in this direction. Suppose let us say we remove this R vector like this. Sorry. Suppose let us say we remove the R vector from here, students. Let us keep it here. And suppose let us say they have given this vector like this, students. R vector is given like this. Now what is the resultant of this hexagon, students? It is 0. It is 0, students. Why? Because the all vectors are forming a closed polygon. So therefore the resultant will be 0, students. Okay. So whenever they give a particular shape, either hexagon or square or rectangle, and the vectors are forming a closed order, are following the closed order like this. They are going in anti-clockwise direction. A vector, B vector, C vector, D vector, E vector, F vector, and then they are coming back to the original position. So whenever the forces are given like this or vectors are given like this, the resultant will always be equal to 0, students. Okay, students. So always remember that is the 0. Okay. So if you want to understand this polygon law more deeply, I gave the explanation here. This law is used for adding more than two vectors. Okay, students. This is the extension of triangle law, where the tail of next vector will always be connected to the head of the former vector. So whenever we connect the tail of first vector to the head of the last, we get the resultant of all the vectors. Okay, students. Suppose let us say here we have A vector like this, B vector like this, C vector like this, and D vector. So first I have connected A vector to B vector. This is A vector to B vector. Then I will get what, students, here? A bar plus B bar according to triangle law. Now to this A bar plus B bar I have connected one C vector. Then I will get, if I add these two, then I will get A bar plus B bar plus C bar, no, students. Okay. Then I will get here, this is nothing but A bar plus B bar of this one plus C bar. Now this is the triangle. This is the triangle. So this triangle resultant is this one, A bar plus B bar plus C bar. And now to this, if I if we connect, suppose let us say if we connect another d bar, then the resultant would be like this, where a bar plus b bar plus c bar plus d bar. Okay, students. So therefore this will be the resultant. Okay. So this is called as polygon law. Okay, students. So this is also very, very important, provided when number of forces are there. But actually better than this method, there is one more method that is called as resolution method, when number of forces are there or number of vectors are to be added. Okay, students. Now let us see some important points. Resultant of two unequal vectors cannot be 0. Okay, students. That means suppose if you have two vectors. Okay, students. Suppose let us say 3 newtons and some 5 newtons. Okay. Now these now unequal vectors. Unequal means 5 and 3 are not same. So therefore, no matter in whichever angle, whatever angle is there between them, whether 0 or 90 or 180 or acute angle from 0 to 90 or from 90 to 180 obtuse angle, whatever the angle may be there, now the resultant cannot be 0, students. That is what the first point. Sometimes in the multiple choice questions, these type of points they'll ask. Okay. And the resultant of 3 coplanar vectors may or may not be 0, students. Coplanar vectors means they should lie on the same plane, students. So these vectors, suppose let us say a bar, b bar, c bar, can be, the resultant of these vectors can be 0 provided if the magnitude of a bar, that means just a bar is equal to b bar is equal to magnitude of b bar equal to c bar equal to, if they are equal, that means if the magnitudes of these 3 vectors are equal, and if they are equally inclined, then definitely these 3 will produce net 0 resultant. That means equally inclined. So if they are equally inclined and if they are having equal magnitudes, then definitely they will produce 0 resultant. Okay. But if they are not equally inclined, or if they are not having same magnitude, then may not be 0. Then resultant may not be 0, students. Okay. Then the resultant of 3 non-coplanar vectors cannot be 0. It is impossible. Non-coplanar vectors means they are lying, all the 3 vectors are lying in different planes. So no matter whatever rule you apply, they can never be 0. The resultant can never be 0, students. Okay, next one. Subtraction of vectors. This is also very important one. This is the actually application concept, students, where in relative velocity, in kinematics, there is a topic called as relative velocity. In that topic, if you understand this one, then all problems of relative velocity you can solve very easily. Okay, students. So now whenever we want to subtract two vectors, it is nothing but addition of one vector with the negative of another vector. So suppose here a bar minus b bar you want. So it can be written as a bar plus of minus b bar. Okay, students. So suppose if you have two vectors, suppose this is called as a bar and this is called as b bar. And now if you want to find out its resultant, just complete the parallelogram and then this is called as the resultant. And theta is the angle between these two vectors a bar and b bar. And the angle made by this resultant with the a vector is given by tan alpha 1. What is the tan alpha 1, students? B sin theta by a plus b cos theta. And what is the value of the resultant? That is r is equal to a bar plus b bar. Sorry. The resultant is not this one. The resultant is given by r is equal to the magnitude of a bar plus b bar is equal to under root a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta. Okay, students. This is the magnitude of this one resultant, okay, of these two vectors, addition of vectors. Suppose if you want a bar minus b bar, then what we have to do, students? A bar plus of minus b bar. Here also you have to do addition, but addition of a vector and minus b vector. So minus b vector means it is a opposite direction of b. So that means this is the minus b vector. This is called as minus b vector. Now this is the a vector, students. So addition of these two vectors, if you complete the parallelogram like this, then you will get the resultant in this direction, which is nothing but called as a bar plus of minus a bar. Okay, whose angle between these two vectors will now become how much, students? 180 minus theta, not theta. And this resultant magnitude is given by a bar minus b bar is equal to mod of a bar minus b bar is equal to root over a square plus b square minus 2ab cos theta, because angle is cos of 180 minus theta. So cos of 180 minus theta is cos of minus cos theta. So therefore you will get as minus root over a square plus b square minus 2ab cos theta, students. And then what is the angle made by this subtraction of vector, students? That is alpha 2. Alpha 2 is equal to b sin theta by a minus b cos theta. Just you have to put minus sign. B sin theta by a minus b cos theta. So I hope you understood, students, the addition and subtraction of these two vectors. Okay. So until now I covered what you call the basic definitions of vectors, and then types of vectors, okay, and then how to add and subtract two vectors either by triangle law or by parallelogram law or by polygon law, students. Okay, students. So I'll continue the remaining topics in the next session. Thank you very much, students.